Here we finally started after reading the introduction, a biological background, and a foreword by Carl Jung, of all people. Chapter 1, Who am I? Questioner asked, Who am I? Ramana Maharshi says, You're not the body, blah blah blah. Questioner asks, If I am none of these things, then who am I? He says, Awareness. What is the nature of awareness? The questioner asked. Existence, consciousness, bliss. That's where we left off. Next question. When will the realization of the self be gained? When will we reach enlightenment? Ramana says, when the world, which is what is seen, has been removed, there will be realization of the self, which is the seer. Thank you, Jared, for your generosity in giving another set of gifts to Peter, Elray, Amanda McCormack, Elevenra, and Dr. Joel. Thank you. I look forward to being in the service of all of you. And I hope you enjoy your sticker packs that Jared has selflessly provided for you. Radhe, Radhe. Questioner asked, will there not be realization of the self even while the world is there, taken as real? Maharshi responds, there will not be. Questioner asks, why? The seer and the object seen are like the rope and the snake. Just as the knowledge of the rope, which is the substrate, will not arise unless the false knowledge of the illusory, serpent goes, so the realization of the self, which is the substrate, will not be gained unless the belief that the world is real is removed. This is a common analogy that you will find in many Eastern teachings, particularly in India. I guess people had a habit of seeing a coiled up rope as a snake, given how many snakes are out there. Similarly, our cats seem to be prone to looking for snakes in places there are none. I'm sure you've all seen a cat get spooked by a cucumber or a belt or something that vaguely looks like a snake until they realize that the nature of what is separate from the illusion. They are afraid. When will the world, which is the object seen, be removed? Asks the questioner. When the mind, which is the cause of all cognitions and of all actions, becomes quiescent, the world will disappear. The questioner asks, what is the nature of the mind? What is called mind is a wondrous power residing in the self. It causes all thoughts to arise. Apart from thoughts, there is no such thing as mind. Therefore, thought is the nature of mind. Apart from thoughts, there is no independent entity called the world. In deep sleep, there are no thoughts, and there is no world. In the states of waking and in dream, there are thoughts, and there is a world also. Just as the spider emits the thread of the web out of itself and again withdraws it into itself, likewise the mind projects the world out of itself and again resolves it into itself. When the mind comes out of the self, the world appears. Therefore, when the world appears to be real, the self does not disappear. My apologies. The self does not appear. And when the self appears, shines, the world does not appear. When one persistently inquires into the nature of the mind will end, leaving the self as the residue. What is referred to as the self is the Atman. The mind always exists only in dependence on something gross. It cannot stay alone. It is the mind that is called the subtle body, or the astral body, or the soul, the jiva. What is the path of inquiry for understanding the nature of the mind? That which rises as I in the body is the mind. If one inquires as to where in the body the thought I first arises, one would discover that it rises in the heart. That is the place of the mind's origin. Even if one constantly thinks, I, one will be led to that place. Of all the thoughts that arise in the mind, the I thought is the first. It is only after the rise of this that the other thoughts arise. It is after the appearance of the first personal pronoun that the second and third personal pronouns appear, you and they. Without the first personal pronoun, there will not be the second and third. Thank you, Bobby So, for your fire. Radhe, Radhe. How will the mind become quiescent? By the inquiry, who am I? The thought, who am I, will destroy all other thoughts, and, like the stick used for stirring the burning pyre, it will itself, in the end, get destroyed. There will arise self-realization. What is the means for constantly holding on to the thought, who am I? When other thoughts arise, one should not pursue them, but one should inquire, to whom did they arise? It does not matter how many thoughts arise. As each thought arises, one should inquire with diligence, to whom has this thought arisen? The answer that would emerge would be, to me. Thereupon, if one inquires again, who am I? The mind will go back to its source, and the thought that arose will become quiescent. With repeated practice in this manner, the mind will develop the skill to stay in its source. When the mind that is subtle goes out through the brain and the sense organs, the gross names and forms appear. When it stays in the heart, the names and forms disappear, not letting the mind go out, but retaining it in the heart is what is called inwardness. Antarmukha. letting the mind go out of the heart is known as externalization, bahirmukha. Thus, when the mind stays in the heart, the I, which is the source of all thoughts, will go, and the self, which ever exists, will shine. Whatever one does, one should do without the egoity of I. If one acts in that way, and will appear as the nature of Shiva, of God. I think I misread an and. Let me just repeat that last sentence. If one acts in that way, all will appear as the nature of Shiva, of God. Now, let us pause our self-inquiry there